One of the biggest problems that people face when it comes to the speaking test is that they have zero knowledge, they have 0 points, they have 0 things to talk about. Your vocabulary starts to expand. You become a better English speaker and writer overall. Right? If you're a girl, find a boyfriend that speaks English. If you're a boy, find a girlfriend that speaks in English. That'll solve your relationship problems as well as your IELTS problems. You will be able to write in a way that you didn't think was possible. Are you planning to do your IELTS exam in 2024? How are you planning to study? What is the approach you're going to take to get your desired band score? Let's talk about all this in today's video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Shashank Dias, and first and foremost, I would like to wish everybody a very happy and prosperous new year. I hope that all your goals, whatever it may be, whether you want to travel abroad, whether you want to do your IELTS exam, or whether you want to learn a new language, preferably English, I wish that you become successful in whatever you want to do. Alright, with that being said, let's get straight into the content of today's video. We are going to talk about what you have to do if you want to get your desired band score at the IELTS exam. So I'm going to outline a 12-step process which you can take to make your IELTS dream a reality. The first step is to assess yourself. Now, what you have to do here is you have to take a mock practice paper, listening, reading, writing, and even speaking, and do the entire exam by yourself. For listening and reading, it will be quite easy to assess where you are because all you have to do is mark the correct answers and you will get a rough idea of which band score you're at. However, if you're doing the writing and speaking tests, maybe you will have to get feedback from a teacher, maybe from someone who has done the exam before, just to gauge where you are at the moment. Now, at this stage of the process, don't think, oh, I have to go and join a class. No, you don't have to do that. You can do this just by yourself. Just find someone who might give you or who might be willing to give you some feedback regarding your writing and speaking tests. Once you know where you are, once you have assessed which level you are at, then you can take a decision of how you are going to progress forward. All right. Step number 2 is to set a goal for yourself. What is the IELTS band score that you want to achieve? Is it a band 6.5 with a band 6 required for every aspect of the exam? Is it a band 7.5? Is it a band 8.5? Is it a band 9? What is your target? Ideally, you should target for a band 9. Now that might be very difficult to get, but you can still aim for the stars and end up on a coconut tree, as the saying goes. So aim for the highest possible band score. At the very least, you will end up at a 7.5 or an 8, right? So target for a 9 and then work towards it, and surely you will end up at a great band score. Now, it's not enough to just think in your mind what this goal is going to be. You have to write it down. Ideally, have a vision board in your room. Just write in big letters, I will get a band 9 for my IELTS exam. When you see this every day, you know this is what you're working for. So every time you take a paper out, every time you try to do a speaking test, you won't feel demotivated because you see that goal on your wall. So set a goal and write it down. Step number 3 is to manage your time. Now, you need to understand what your schedule is going to be like. You might be someone who goes to work. You might be someone who has children, who has to take care of a family. Maybe you're someone who's at university. Maybe you're someone that is, I don't know, doing something else. Maybe you're a freelancer. Maybe you're working remotely. Whatever it may be, you first need to figure out your schedule. How much time can I allocate per day to work towards the IELTS exam? Now let me tell you the reality. Ideally, if you have 3 to 4 months for the exam, you should allocate at least half an hour a day if you want to go for a very high band score. Half an hour a day is not much at all. If you really think about it, half an hour a day is, you might be scrolling on TikTok for half an hour a day. So just allocate that time to study for your IELTS exam. Make yourself a schedule just like this, Monday to Sunday. Have a plan of exactly what you are going to do. Set yourself a time, 7:30 in the morning to 8 in the morning. I'm going to practice a listening test. 6:30 in the evening to 7 in the night, I'm going to read a book so that I will improve my reading skills. The next day, maybe on Wednesday, from 1:30 in the afternoon to 2 p.m., I am going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to listen to a podcast because that will help me improve my listening skills. All right. In this way, have a plan every day. Ideally, if you're 3 months out, right, you should practice for at least half an hour a day. Then as you get closer to the exam, you need to start doing full mock practices. So that is 2.5 hours a day. You only need to do this 1 week out, right? 2.5 hours a day is a commitment that you have to make 1 week out, not every day, all right? Every day, half an hour, 1 week before the exam, 2.5 hours where you're doing entire mock practices. Now, if you're starting out closer to the exam, maybe 2 months out, 1 month out, then obviously you need to increase your study time. I've had students who have committed up to 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 hours a day practicing for the IELTS exam, and they've produced great results because they put in the work. I haven't had a student who hasn't put in the work and got a great result, unless of course they were extremely good in their language. If you're someone who is struggling with the language, then obviously you have to put in a bit more effort. All right. So the closer you get to the exam, the more time you have to invest into studying. So ideally, book your test at least 3 months out so that you can pace out your work and get it done. All right. Step number 4 is to gather all the resources you need to practice for the test. Once you have created a schedule, just take that first half an hour. All right, the first day, the first half an hour to gather all the information you need. Of course, you can't do all of this in half an hour. So maybe at least take 3 days. All right, that's 1.5 hours. If you can do this in 1 day, that's great. However, if you pace it out, still you can get it done in about 3 days. Get all the material you need. Mock practice papers, any material that you need, tips and techniques, videos that you may need to watch. All right, get all this material and prepare yourself to face the exam in the best way possible. In this way, if you actually gather all the information first, then you won't have to waste a lot of time on the other days trying to find out what you have to do. So if you do this in the first 2 or 3 days, then all you have to do from then on is to practice. Now here at TSA, we offer you a video course, right? So everything, whether it's listening, reading, writing or speaking, if you need to revise or if you need to learn something, learn the techniques, if you need to learn the types of questions, all of this is included in a video format on our video course. Aside from this, we have done all the browsing necessary and we have created an information bank. So if you need access to this, you can always drop us a message on the number below and purchase the video course from us. The information bank comes free of charge with that. So if you need access to that, do give us a call or maybe drop us a text on WhatsApp and we will ensure that you get the necessary material. But you don't need to purchase it from anybody, not from me, not from anybody. Just make sure that you do your research and gather all these resources. Everything from mock practices to lecture material to everything is available free of charge online. So if you just put in a little bit of effort, you will be able to find out everything you need to pass the exam in a better way. Alright, in step number 5, we are going to talk about what you have to do when you are practicing for the listening test. If you're starting at least 3 months out, the best possible thing that you can do is start listening to podcasts and TED Talks. Podcasts will really help you with part 1 and part 3, where you have multiple people talking about different subjects. TED Talks will really help you with part 2 and especially part 4. Part 2 is a bit different to a TED Talk, but at least you'll get the practice of listening to one person talk and understanding what that person is saying. But TED Talks will really be helpful to you when you're practicing for part 4. I would suggest that this should take up at least 80% of your time during the initial stage of practicing for the listening test. This is something that is not time consuming at all. On your way to work, while you're driving, while you're in the bus, even while you're walking, you have headphones, you can obviously plug it in, and instead of listening to that comedy show or instead of listening to music, try to listen to a podcast or a TED Talk, which will really help you understand the English language in its natural form, because you're listening to native speakers talking, right? So this will really help you understand the English language, and at the same time, it will dramatically improve your listening skills. All right, TED Talks, podcasts. Go ahead, check it out. We've actually done a couple of videos on TikTok on the best podcasts to listen to. And then the other thing that you can do while listening to these podcasts and TED Talks to improve your comprehension is to listen to it and maybe come back home and write a summary about it. That way, you know you have really understood what you learned. The first day, you might not be able to remember anything. Second day, you might not be able to write anything. But as you keep doing this for a couple of days, your vocabulary starts to expand. You become a better English speaker and writer overall. Not only will listening to these improve your listening skills, it will in turn improve your vocabulary, which will help you with your speaking, and it will enhance your writing skills as well. Alright, so that is what you can do when you're preparing for the listening section of the exam if you're starting 3 months out. Once you start getting closer, obviously go directly into practice papers, listen to the recordings which they have given, get yourself used to that accent and start practicing papers again and again and again and again. You only need half an hour to do it. The listening test is only half an hour, the recording is only half an hour. So if you actually dedicate that time, you can practice listening tests quite easily. The closer you get to the exam, practice the listening tests directly. When you're 3 or 4 months out, start listening to podcasts and TED Talks to improve your listening skills. Next up, we have the reading test. If you're practicing for the reading test, there is obviously only one thing that you need to do, which is read books. Read magazines, read newspaper articles, read news websites online, read financial magazines, read whatever you can get your hands on. Alright, anything. Doesn't matter if it's a novel, doesn't matter if it's the Sunday morning newspaper, doesn't matter if you're reading some financial information because you're a stock market trader, right? As long as you're reading in English and you're able to understand what you're reading, you're going to be in a great place. All right. However, just like with listening, only reading is not going to get you to that mark, right? You need to read, comprehend, and write. Ideally, anything that you read, whether it's a novel, whether it's a magazine, whatever you read, try to summarize what you wrote at the end of the day. Now, if your allocated time is half an hour, read for 15 minutes, write the summary for another 15 minutes. All right. This, I'm saying, is the least amount of time you're dedicating. All right. If you're dedicating only half an hour a day, 15 minutes to read, 15 minutes to write what you read in your own words. Don't go and copy it. Don't go and try to get the same words out of it. No. What you understood, try to rewrite it. Try to summarize it. All right. This will really help you understand what you're reading. Because when it comes to the IELTS reading test, whether you're doing general or academic, you have so much to read. So a big problem that a lot of people face is that they can't understand what they're reading, right? So if you can understand what you're reading, you're already going to be in a superb place. Forget about the techniques, right? If you're starting 3 months, 4 months out, don't worry about skimming, scanning, focused reading. These things can be developed over time. The only thing you have to do is read and summarize. Once you get closer to the exam, 1.5 months out, 1 month out, then focus on skimming, scanning, focused reading. We've done a ton of videos on these techniques. Do check out our channel, especially the videos on reading. We've spoken about skimming, scanning and focused reading, how to do it. We've discussed a paper. This you have to do once you're 1.5 to 1 month out from the exam. All right. The closer you get, the more you have to practice exactly what is needed for the test. So IELTS reading practice papers, whether you're doing academic or general, start practicing for those when you get closer to the exam. But when you're a few months out, what you can do is practice your reading and comprehension. All right. So to recap, practice your reading and comprehension when you're a few months out. Practice mock practice papers when you get closer to the exam, and especially focus on the techniques, skimming, scanning and focused reading. All right. Moving on to our 7th point, which is writing, how to practice for the writing test. Now, honestly, if you're doing the activities that I mentioned for listening and reading, then you're automatically practicing your writing. You're reading something, you're summarizing it. You're listening to something, you're summarizing it. Imagine how much your vocabulary is going to grow. You will be able to write mesmerizing essays, amazing reports, and up to the point letters if you practice listening and reading the way I asked you to. All right. To be honest, one of the main reasons people get stuck with writing is that they don't have ideas. They don't have the vocabulary. So if you're listening and reading every day and you're summarizing it, this will automatically grow. You will have tons of ideas. You will have an unbelievable vocabulary. All right. And you will be able to write in a way that you didn't think was possible. Okay. So writing will gradually, automatically improve if you practice listening and reading. But what can you do specifically for writing? If you're looking to focus on writing in a very specific way, find a number of different topics for writing. All right, what has come for the IELTS exam, and select one of those topics. Do a lot of research on it. Search the web, maybe go on ChatGPT, get a sample essay. Figure out what kind of vocabulary you can use. Just take 1 day for this. Half an hour a day, just do that. The next day, write the essay. All right. We've already done a couple of videos on essay writing structure, so maybe you can go and watch that to figure out in which structure you're going to write the essay, because for IELTS, understanding the structure is also very, very important. So understand the structure first and then start writing by yourself. The more you research, the better your ideas will be, the better your vocabulary will be. So to recap, if you do listening and reading the way I asked you to, your writing will automatically improve. If you want to focus specifically on IELTS writing, select topics, do your research, find the structure and write the essay, and your writing will improve in no time. Step number 8 is to practice your speaking test. Guys, speaking is the easiest exam of all, and to practice this is even easier. Right? Because if you're doing listening, reading and writing, all 3 of these things exactly the way I told you to, speaking is a walk in the park. You have so much information. You're listening to podcasts, you're listening to TED Talks, you're reading books, you're reading magazines, you have so much knowledge. One of the biggest problems that people face when it comes to the speaking test is that they have zero knowledge, they have 0 points, they have 0 things to talk about. All right, if you can fix that problem, your speaking is going to be a walk in the park. Another great strategy that I tell my students is that you have to use personal experiences when you're facing especially part 2 and part 1 of the speaking test. Find out what are your happy experiences. Find out what made you sad. Find out what made you felt like you achieved something. All right, maybe when you felt excited, find out these emotions, put a story on it and start practicing. Every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just practice speaking in front of a mirror. When I was practicing to be a motivational public speaker and when I was practicing how to teach, I didn't allocate a time, okay, I'm going to practice today half an hour and then do it. I just did it whenever I could. I used to be in front of a mirror and just practice and practice and practice, not because of anything else, because I simply loved it. I was teaching to myself on a mirror before I ever got any students, right? Because I loved it so much. I love doing what I do. Speaking is very easy. All you have to do is practice, all right? Just take 10, 15, 20 minutes a day and practice whenever you get the chance. Don't wait for that allotted half an hour. Keep it for listening, reading and writing. Speaking, you just practice whenever you can. Another great way that you can practice speaking English is to talk with a friend. Alright, if you're a girl, find a boyfriend that speaks English. If you're a boy, find a girlfriend that speaks in English. That'll solve your relationship problems as well as your IELTS problems. No, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, finding a friend that will speak with you in English is one of the best ways to improve your language. Just tell them, hey, I'm practicing for the IELTS test. I would like to talk to you about this topic. Can we speak in English? Your English will improve dramatically. This will also help you when you go to that foreign country you're looking to go. Alright, so if you're from a country like Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, where you don't really speak in English that often, if you do what I'm telling you to do, when you go to those countries, you will be able to communicate with them without much of a problem because you have been speaking with someone for quite a period of time. Alright, so that's a great piece of advice. If you can follow it, your English will improve dramatically. Step number 9 is to improve your vocabulary and grammar. Improving your vocabulary with everything I've told you is not going to be a problem. It's not even something you have to focus on specifically. All right. If you're listening to podcasts and TED Talks, if you're reading, if you're writing, if you're speaking, your vocabulary will anyway improve. It will improve more than you can ever improve it by finding 3 words a day and trying to include it into your speaking or writing. Because when you listen or read, you're picking up on different words and you will automatically use them when you're speaking or writing. So your vocabulary, don't over stress on it, right? This will improve naturally during the process. Grammar can't be improved that same way. Yes, your grammar will improve over time and you will go from maybe 0 to about 50 if you practice really hard. But knowing the exact grammatical structures can give you a big edge at the IELTS exam. So if you want to improve your grammar, one of the best ways that I would suggest is to actually join a class and learn the correct grammatical structures, learn the correct grammatical rules. This will definitely help you improve your grammar. Alright, if you don't have the finances to invest into a class, then that's fine. Then follow a free online course on English grammar. There are so many free online courses. For one, I don't have the patience to do it because grammar is not the most interesting thing in the world. So maybe the advice I'm giving is a bit hypocritical. But if you don't have the money, you have to do what you have to do. So sit down, be dedicated and start following an online free program that will teach you everything you need to about English grammar. Then apply it when you're writing and when you are speaking. Improve your grammar, improve your vocabulary. Step number 10 is to do as many mock tests as possible. I told you, if you're 1 week out from the test, you have to start doing mock tests every day. 2.5 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's 7 mock tests. That is more than enough if you want to go for a high band score. But that is the bare minimum. Alright, that's the bare minimum that you can do. If you can do 30, 40, 50 mock papers, obviously you're going to get a better mark, because at the end of the day, the result you get for your mock test is not the same result that you're going to get for your actual test. All right. For example, if you get 38 for your reading test in your mock practice paper, you'll only end up getting about 34 or 33 in your actual paper, because there's so much stress, right? The timer is running, you're in an exam situation, there's so much going on. It's not like doing the paper at home. All right. So always think of it in that mindset. That won't happen all the time, but just think of it in that mindset. All right. Then with that mindset, you will be able to practice more and more mock tests. The more you do, the better chance you have. But at the very least, at the bare minimum, do 7 mock practices. 1 week out, 2.5 hours every single day, 7 mock practices. Right. Point number 11 is review and feedback. The best way to review your answers and get feedback is to join a class. Here at the 10-day IELTS program, we check all your answers, whether it's writing or speaking. We check everything. We give you feedback on everything you do. Listening and reading, in our classes, obviously we guide you. But what I'm saying is, if you're doing this alone, you don't really need a lot of guidance, because once you figure out the techniques, it's just a matter of practicing and getting better. With writing and speaking, you need someone to look at your answers, look at your speaking, analyze it, and give you feedback. A teacher is the best person to do this. All right. So here are our 10-day classes. If you join, you can get all of these benefits. But maybe some of you don't want to invest money. That is completely fine. You have an alternative. Find a friend who has done the exam before. Find someone who has got an 8, 8.5, at the very least got a 7, right? If someone has got a band 7, they're still very good. All right, they're a very good English speaker. Get that person to review your answer and give you feedback on how better you can write it. Correct your structure, correct your vocabulary, correct your cohesive devices, correct your grammar, correct the way in which you write the answers, correct the way in which you include examples. All of these things, get that person to check, give you a proper feedback on how you can write a better answer. All right. Review and feedback is so important, because for speaking and writing, you can't just practice haphazardly without getting a feedback on what you're doing. Because if you're practicing the wrong thing every day, then you're going to do the wrong thing at the exam and you're going to lose marks. All right. Speaking, it's not going to be much of a problem, but writing, it's definitely going to be a problem. If you don't follow the correct structures, if you don't have the proper cohesive devices, if you haven't written your answers with the right examples, if you haven't written in the proper way, all of these things is going to cost you a lot of marks. So review and feedback is very important. So either join a class or either get this review and feedback from a friend. All right. Last but certainly not the least, relax your mind. Not what you were expecting, is it? I feel that the more stressed you get about anything, the less you're going to perform. Yes, the stress is going to come. The closer you get to the exam, you're going to panic. You're going to think, how can I do this better? What can I do? All of these things. But if we let that stress get to us, we end up not accomplishing anything. Use that stress, relax your mind, and focus on your goal. If you're doing everything we told you in a systematic way, you have nothing to get stressed about. All right. But in the event that you do and you need to calm down, follow a deep breathing method. Follow the deep breathing method. Very simple. Just close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Just keep your eyes closed. Sit still. Don't move a muscle. Don't move your legs. Don't move your hands. Just focus on your breathing for 10 whole minutes. Get back to work. You'll be as good as new. Don't worry about your problems. Don't worry about getting stressed. Just follow this plan and you will get the desired score for your IELTS exam. If you do get stressed, follow the deep breathing method, and everything will fall into place. Alright everybody, so this was quite a lengthy video, but now we are at the end of it. So I sincerely hope that this year, if you're planning to do the IELTS exam, you will follow this 12-step process to help you get to your desired result. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. We'll be putting out a new video every single week to help you pass the IELTS exam, to help you get your desired band score in the most convenient way possible. So subscribe to the channel. Let us know down in the comments below what else you need help with so that we can create videos catering to exactly what you want. Share this with a friend, show us some love. Alright, and I will certainly see you in our next video. If you're interested in joining with our 10-day IELTS program, or even just to purchase our video course and get the information bank free of charge, just drop a text to the number below. It doesn't matter whether it's on WhatsApp or you could give us a call. Just get in touch with the number below and we will get you exactly what you need. So till our next video, keep practicing.